Welcome to Revisit Books podcast, where we turn books into bite-sized wisdom you can use every day.
And today we're looking at a book that's really resonated with a lot of people. It's Admiral William H. McRaven's Make Your Bed. Little things that can change your life and maybe the world.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? You hear Admiral, you hear Navy SEAL, and maybe you expect, I don't know, military strategy.
Tactics, geopolitics, something like that.
But this book, it's almost like a life manual for everyone. And the lessons come from, well, the toughest military training imaginable.
Exactly. I mean, Admiral McRaven, his background is incredible. 37 years as a Navy SEAL. He ended up as a 4-star admiral, actually commanding all U.S. Special Operations Forces.
Wow, so he's seen it all.
He really has. Lived through extreme hardship, led at the absolute highest level. And his insight, the core of the book, is that the principles you need to survive that kind of environment, they're the same principles you need to just thrive in everyday life, even when things feel chaotic.
And the hook, the really brilliant part, is that he boils it down to 10 lessons. 10 powerful, simple rules pulled directly from Navy SEAL basic training, BDS.
BDS, yeah, an environment basically designed to break people.
Right, but out of that pressure cooker comes this clear set of rules for dealing with stress, handling failure, facing huge challenges. That's what we're going to explore, these rules and why they hit home for so many. #tag1. Overview.
So where did this book actually come from? Well, its roots are in that incredibly popular commencement speech McRaven gave back in 2014.
Oh, yeah, the University of Texas one, his alma mater, right? It went viral.
Totally viral.
Yeah.
And he mentions in the book, he was actually a bit skeptical at first.
Skeptical? How so?
Well, he kind of thought, here I am, a military guy. My whole career has been about war. How is this going to connect with college grads, heading off to tech jobs or finance?
It makes sense. Potential disconnect.
The reaction was overwhelming, really positive. It turned out the lessons weren't just about SEALs or the military. They were human.
Universal appeal, as he put it.
Exactly. They tapped into things everyone deals with: self-doubt, fear, needing some kind of meaning or structure.
And the book takes it so much further than the speech, doesn't it? It adds the stories, the context.
Oh, absolutely. That's what makes the book essential, I think. He gives you the gritty details, the specific moments, sometimes pretty brutal moments, from BUDS and his career that showed him why these lessons matter.
And he highlights other people too, right? Mentors, colleagues.
Yeah, he really shines a light on people who inspired him, people who live these principles: discipline, honor, courage. It shows these aren't just abstract ideas. They're things you can actually see and learn from others.
It kind of ties into that University of Texas slogan, what starts here changes the world.
Precisely. He's basically saying, look, these 10 lessons, they're the foundation. If you can master these, you don't just change your own life. You build a framework that can actually have a massive impact, ripple outwards.
He even did that calculation in the speech, the math about changing lives.
Right. It's memorable. He challenged those, 8,000 graduates?
Yeah, something like that.
Change the lives of just 10 people each. And if they do the same, and it continues for 5 generations, like 125 years or so.
You end up impacting 800 million people.
800 million. It's staggering.
Yeah.
But it all starts with the discipline to change yourself first. Simple idea, huge potential, #tag2. Who's it for? Okay, so the lessons are universal, we get that. But who really needs to pick this up? Who are we talking to here? It's definitely broader than just, military buffs or leadership gurus.
For sure. I can think of a few types of people right away. First, maybe someone who's just stuck, struggling with basic motivation.
Feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly. Wakes up, doesn't know where to start, feels paralyzed by decisions. They just need some structure, like a really simple first step.
And that first lesson, making the bed, it speaks directly to that, doesn't it?
Totally. It's about getting that immediate, tiny win. Controlling one small piece of the chaos right at the start of the day. It's fundamental.
Okay, so that's one group. Who else?
Well, then there's the person who feels like they keep hitting a wall. Dealing with failure, setbacks, maybe feeling like nothing they do works out.
Like they're stuck in a negative loop.
Right. And McRaven's take on failure is, I think, really powerful. He doesn't just say, oh, learn from mistakes. He shows how the punishment itself, the thing designed to break you, can actually make you stronger.
That's the whole circus thing we'll get into. It flips the script on adversity.
Exactly. Turns pain into fuel, almost. And then the third group, this one's maybe the biggest. It's anyone losing perspective on fairness.
The life's not fair problem, which, it isn't.
It isn't. But it's so easy to get bogged down in feeling sorry for yourself or resentful when things go wrong randomly. This book just cuts through that.
It's a counter-narrative to victimhood.
Totally. It stresses that success isn't about things being fair. It's about how you react despite the unfairness. How you drive on, as he says. The sugar cookie lesson nails this.
We'll definitely unpack that one, and McRaven himself says it, right? These lessons work no matter who you are.
Yeah, he's very clear. Gender, background, orientation, status. None of that matters. The only thing required is the will to succeed.
So it's really for anyone looking to build resilience, to maximize their potential, using this incredibly disciplined, battle-tested framework. #Tech3. Key takeaways.
Okay, let's dive into the takeaways. And we have to start with the title lesson, right?
No.
Make your bed. Everyone knows it, but why is this like the foundational principle?
Because it's the very first disciplined act of the day. And we're not talking just pulling the covers up. This was almost ceremonial in its precision.
Describe the scene. What was the standard?
Okay, so the barracks room. Super basic. A steel cot, a thin mattress, 2 blankets. That's it. But the bed had to be perfect. Hospital corners so sharp you could, practically cut yourself. The pillow dead center. The top blanket folded into this perfect rectangle at the foot. No wrinkles.
And the legendary quarter test. Tell us about that.
Right. The instructors wouldn't just glance at it. They'd walk in, flip a standard U.S. quarter onto the bed.
And it had to bounce.
It had to bounce several inches high. The tension on that top sheet and blanket had to be that tight. If it didn't bounce, you failed.
And failure meant?
Oh, usually getting wet and sandy. Heading straight out into the cold Pacific surf, then rolling on the beach until you were covered head to toe. The lovely sugar cookie treatment. We'll get back to that.
Okay, but psychologically, what's the deep insight here? It's more than just details matter, right?
Much more. It's about momentum. It's about self-efficacy. You complete this first task perfectly, immediately upon waking.
A tangible win, right away.
Exactly. You get this small jolt of pride. It sounds minor, but it creates psychological energy. It makes tackling the next task and the one after that feel more possible. It combats that morning inertia.
It sets a standard. If you can't do the small things right,
How can you possibly be trusted with the big things? It instills a baseline of excellence that ideally carries through the whole day. Discipline starts small.
And he connects this simple habit to character later on with that observation about Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, that's a striking anecdote. Years later, McRaven's visiting Saddam Hussein, who's being held captive on a simple army cot.
After his capture in Iraq.
Right. And McRaven, who spent decades making his bed or rolling his sleeping bag meticulously, even in war zones, he looks at Saddam's cot and notices.
He didn't make his bed.
He didn't make his bed. And McRaven saw that messy cot, that small bit of disorder, as just a reflection of the man's character, a final sign of indiscipline, even when all other power was gone. Order versus disorder. Okay, next big lesson. This one pushes back hard against that, lone wolf, rugged individualist idea. McRaven is adamant. You cannot get through life alone. You need people.
And the training ground for this was the rubber raft, right? The IBS.
The IBS, inflatable boat small, yeah. They spent hours carrying those things, paddling them through the surf. Miserable work.
And the key was teamwork, absolute unity.
Totally. It took 7 guys to paddle effectively. Everyone had to be perfectly synchronized with the toxins count. If even one person slack off, didn't pull their weight.
The boat gets sideways to a wave.
And bam! Everyone gets dumped back onto the beach. Freezing, soaking wet, starting over. It hammered home that reliance on each other.
And it wasn't just about optimal performance. It was about survival when someone was struggling. Right?
Hey, it's critical. McRaven talks about days when he was just broken down, maybe sick with a bad cold, totally exhausted. And the other guys in his boat crew, they wouldn't even say anything. They'd just
pick up the slack.
Paddle harder to compensate, maybe share a bit of their food or water. It proved really viscerally that you couldn't make it through training or combat later on without the team.
This lesson got tested in a huge way for him personally, years later, that parachute accident.
Oh, man, yeah. That story is intense. He was a commander by then, doing a jump. Another jumper came up underneath him, collided with him at speed.
Air collision. Terrible.
Horrific. He lost control, chute tangled, and when the main canopy opened, the force just ripped his pelvis apart. By nearly 5 inches, he says.
5 inches? Wow, that sounds career-ending, life-altering.
He thought it was. 2 months, flat on his back in bed, thinking his SEAL career was over, sinking into, self-pity.
But his boat crew stepped up, his real-life boat crew.
Exactly. His wife, Georgian, first and foremost. She wasn't just a nurse dealing with the awful physical stuff, the wounds, the bedpan she gave him, the tough love, told him to snap out of the victim mindset.
And professionally.
His boss, Admiral Eric Olson, saw McRaven's value. He knew the standard Navy medical rules would probably force McRaven out. So he basically ran interference, bent the rules, gave McRaven the time he needed to heal without being medically discharged.
Wow.
McRaven realized, looking back, that everything he achieved after that accident was only possible because other people grabbed the paddle for him when he couldn't. His wife, his boss, his team.
Yeah.
You always need someone to help you paddle.
Okay, let's talk failure. We all know it's part of learning, but the SEAL instructors weaponized it with something called the circus. What exactly was that?
The circus was basically punishment for messing up. Simple as that. Come in last on a run, fail an inspection, screw up a knot, your name goes on the list.
And the punishment was?
2 extra hours of calisthenics, brutal stuff, push-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, just relentless, non-stop exercise. And this was after you'd already finished the normal, incredibly hard training day.
So it's designed to just grind you down.
Exactly. The explicit goal was to break your spirit, make you so exhausted you'd fail more the next day, landing you back in the circus. It was meant to create this downward spiral.
A psychological death trap.
That was the idea. But McRaven and his swim buddy, Mark Thomas, they were apparently not the strongest swimmers, initially found themselves on the circus list all the time for swimming.
So they were getting punished constantly.
Constantly. But then they realized something kind of amazing. All those extra 2-hour beatdowns every day.
They were actually getting stronger.
They were getting 2 extra hours of intense physical conditioning that the rest of the class wasn't getting. The punishment, paradoxically, was making them fitter, faster in the water, and more confident.
Wow. The thing meant to break them was building them up.
Totally flipped the script. They stopped dreading the circus and started seeing it as like extra training. It fundamentally changes how you view failure. It's not just shame, it's data, it's fuel.
And this paid off big time in the end, right? The final swim.
Oh yeah, the final big test, swim 5 miles in the open ocean. Cold, rough seas, pure exhaustion. McRaven and Thomas finish, stumble onto the beach, totally expecting the usual yelling, getting ready to drop down for punishment because they assumed they were last again.
But they weren't last.
They look up, finally catching their breath, and realize, they're the first ones there. The first pair to finish the swim.
No.
Yeah. And the instructor, instead of screaming, just gives them this little smile and says something like, guess all that extra pain paid off, huh?
Yeah.
It proved that embracing the hardship, finding the lesson in the failure, is what leads to growth. Don't fear the circus.
Okay, so the next lesson, number 3 in the book, feels really important. It pushes back against stereotypes, especially about physical size. We picture SEALs as these huge, imposing figures.
Right, the Hollywood image. And sure, some guys were massive former football players, 6'6" giants, looked like they were carved out of granite.
But physical size wasn't the predictor of success?
Not at all. McRaven says some of those huge guys, the ones who looked invincible, they often lacked the internal drive, the mental toughness, the heart, as he calls it. They'd quit surprisingly fast when the real grind set in.
And the flip side? The smaller guys.
Often they were the toughest. They had to work harder physically for everything, obviously, but they just wouldn't give up. He tells a great story about one smaller SEAL trainee, nicknamed the Munchkin. Guy was maybe 5'5", probably under 130 pounds, soaking wet. Everything was harder for him. But he was an incredible swimmer, and his determination was just off the charts.
He gives an example, right?
Yeah, on some exercise, carrying heavy gear. The Munchkin is paired with a much larger student. The big guy starts fading, getting exhausted. So what does the Munchkin do?
Carries his own gear and the big guy's gear?
Exactly. Grabs the other guy's pack too and just keeps driving forward, refusing to slow down. It wasn't about brute strength. It was about sheer will.
So the lesson isn't about physical size being irrelevant, but about where true strength comes from.
Precisely. It comes from the heart, your courage, your drive, your refusal to quit when things get hard. McRaven warns that if you judge people only by appearances, size, gender, race, whatever, you'll miss the real high performers. You'll miss the quiet ones with the unstoppable internal engine. Heart matters more than muscle.
All right, moving to lesson 4. This one might be tough for some people to swallow, especially today. It's about unfairness. The sugar cookie, we mentioned it earlier.
Ah, yes, the sugar cookie. Not as nice as it sounds.
Definitely not. So, recap. Getting soaked, usually in the freezing ocean, then rolling in the sand until you're completely coated.
Head to toe. Sand gets everywhere, chafes like crazy, sticks in your eyes, your ears, utterly miserable, and it stays with you all day.
But the key point here is why it happened, right?
Hmm.
It wasn't always because you messed up.
Often, it had nothing to do with merit. Sometimes an instructor would just pick someone. Maybe their uniform wasn't quite right, maybe the instructor was just bored, or maybe they just wanted to remind everyone who was in charge. It was often random, arbitrary.
So the lesson embedded in the misery was?
Life isn't fair. Get used to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do everything right, follow all the rules, and you still end up cold, wet, and covered in sand for no good reason.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
That really changes the definition of grit, doesn't it? It's not just pushing through difficulty, it's pushing through undeserved difficulty.
Exactly. McRaven saw guys who, when they got the sugar cookie treatment unfairly, would just spiral. They'd complain, feel sorry for themselves, get angry.
Which just makes the misery worse.
It makes them more likely to quit, the ones who succeeded. They might hate it, but they accepted it. Okay, I'm a sugar cookie right now. This sucks. Shake off what I can. Keep moving. Drive on.
Acceptance of the randomness.
Yes. You can't control the unfair things that happen, but you can control your reaction. Wasting energy complaining about unfairness is pointless. Acknowledge it, deal with it, and move forward. It's a crucial lesson for life way beyond BDS. Okay, let's talk risk. Lesson 6, you must dare greatly. And the image here is the obstacle course, specifically one called the Slide for Life.
Sounds dramatic. What was it?
Imagine a tall tower, maybe 3 stories high. Then about 200 yards away, a lower tower. Connecting them is this single thick rope, often wet, stretched over a pit. You have to get from the high tower to the low tower using only the rope.
Okay, how did most people do it? The safe way.
The standard technique was to kind of hang underneath. Wrap your legs over the rope, grip it tight with your hands, and pull yourself across hand over hand. Slow, controlled, relatively safe.
But slow is bad in BUDS.
Slow is usually last. And playing it safe meant you'd have a mediocre time on the obstacle course, which could mean more circuses.
So the guys who excelled, the ones who dared greatly, they found a different way.
A much faster, much riskier way. They called it commando style. Instead of hanging below, you'd lie on top of the rope, either on your back or belly. You'd wrap one leg and ankle around it for tension and balance.
And just launch yourself, head first.
Exactly. Shoot across head first using gravity. It was way faster, but also way more dangerous. Lose your grip, lose your balance, and you're falling into the pit, probably injured.
But the reward was potentially a record time.
Right. And McRaven's point is, you will never know what you're truly capable of if you don't push the boundaries, if you don't take that calculated risk. Playing it safe guarantees you'll never achieve your personal best. You just settle.
So translating that for us, it's about looking at where we're holding back. Where are we taking the slow, safe route because we're afraid of falling?
Precisely. What calculated risk are you avoiding right now? Maybe it's a project at work, a difficult conversation, starting something new. That fear of failure, fear of falling off the rope, might be keeping you from achieving something great. You have to be willing to slide head first sometimes. All right, lesson 7, this one's about confrontation, facing down the bullies. And the training analogy here comes from the water again. Deep water.
Sharks, right. The ultimate bully of the ocean.
Exactly. Off the coast of San Clemente Island, where they did a lot of their dive training, sharks were a real possibility, great whites included.
That's terrifying. What was the instruction if you encountered one on a dive, especially like a night dive?
The rule was absolute: do not panic, do not try to swim away. If a shark approaches, you stand your ground. More than that, you move towards it.
Move towards the great white? Serious.
Seriously, the specific instruction was summon all your strength and punch the shark on the snout.
Punch a shark on the nose. Does that even work?
Apparently, it often does. But the psychology is the key point. The bully, the shark in this case, is testing you, sizing you up. If you act like prey, if you flee, you trigger that predator instinct.
But if you stand firm, show no fear, even attack.
The bully often backs down. They're looking for an easy meal, not a fight. Courage, McRaven says, is like a force field against intimidation.
And this applies way beyond actual sharks, obviously.
Oh, completely. He connects it to any situation where someone is using intimidation or power unfairly. An abusive boss, a toxic relative, anyone trying to dominate through fear. The principle is the same.
Yeah.
You have to find the courage to stand up to them.
Because if you don't.
If you cower, if you try to swim away metaphorically, the bully just keeps coming. You enable their behavior. Standing your ground, pushing back, even when it's terrifying, is the only way to stop them and reclaim your own power.
Yeah.
You have to punch the shark. Now, lesson 8 feels related to the shark one, but it's distinct. It's not just about confronting a threat, it's about performing at your peak under extreme pressure, especially when things go catastrophically wrong.
And the training scenario here was the really demanding underwater missions, like simulated sabotage.
Exactly. Think deep-sea combat diving. You might be miles offshore in pitch-black water, maybe planting explosives on a ship hull. You're often alone, totally reliant on your gear and your training.
High stakes, what could go wrong?
Everything. Your air supply could get tangled or cut. Your mask could flood or get ripped off. You could get disoriented. Panic in that situation is fatal.
And the instructors deliberately caused these problems during training.
Oh yeah, that was part of the test. An instructor would sneak up on you underwater in the dark and just wreck your world. Tie your air hoses in knots, shut off your air valve completely, rip your mask and regulator off your face. Total chaos. Simulated.
Wow. How did trainees react?
The ones who panicked would instinctively bolt for the surface, which is incredibly dangerous. At depth leads to the bends, embolisms.
Oh.
They failed. The ones who passed, the ones who made it.
They stayed calm?
They stayed calm. They accessed their training, took a breath if they could, methodically cleared their mask, untangled their hoses, found their backup air, whatever the procedure was for that specific emergency. They executed the fundamentals flawlessly under duress.
That's a powerful metaphor for any crisis, isn't it? When everything falls apart.
You don't rise to the occasion. You sink to the level of your training. In life's darkest moments, a sudden job loss, a health scare, a family tragedy, your ability to stay calm, control the panic, and rely on your fundamental skills and preparation is what sees you through. You have to be your best when things are at their worst. Okay, this next one, Lesson 9, brings us back to maybe the most emotional story in the whole book. It's from Hell Week, Wednesday, the Tijuana Mudflats.
Just the description sounds like rock bottom. Chest deep, freezing mud, howling wind. Complete physical and mental drain after days with almost no sleep.
It was pure misery. Guys were literally shaking from hypothermia. Skin raw, just desperate. And the instructors knew this was prime time to break the class.
So they offered them a way out?
The ultimate temptation. An instructor strolls up with a bullhorn and says, basically, look, we've got a warm fire over here, hot coffee, dry blankets. You can be done with all this pain right now.
What was the catch?
We just need 5 of you. 5 guys quit and the rest of you get a break. It was designed to make the group turn on itself, sacrifice a few for the comfort of the many.
Psychological warfare at its finest, and it nearly worked.
It almost did. McRaven describes watching one trainee start to struggle out of the mud, ready to give in, ready to ring that bell. The whole class was shivering, on the verge of collapse. And then
Someone started singing.
Just one voice, raspy, tired, horribly out of tune, singing some dumb song. But it was an act of defiance in the face of utter misery.
And it caught on.
Like a spark. One voice became 2, then 4. Pretty soon the entire class was singing this terrible off-key chorus, but singing together. So loud it drowned out the instructor's bullhorn.
Wow. What happened to the guy who was quitting?
He heard the singing, stopped, turned back, and linked arms with McRaven. Started singing too. That one act, that one voice, choosing hope over despair. It unified everyone. It gave them the belief that they could endure it together.
It shows the incredible power of just one person to shift the entire dynamic. It's not just about your own endurance, it's about lifting others.
Absolutely. Hope is contagious. McRaven tells another powerful story later about Marine Lieutenant General John Kelly.
Who lost his own son in Afghanistan.
Yes. And years later, General Kelly was the one comforting the families of dozens of service members killed in a helicopter crash. Because he had endured that ultimate pain himself, his words of hope, his compassion, had this incredible weight and authenticity.
It wasn't just empty words.
Exactly. Hope, McRaven says, isn't just wishful thinking. It might be the single most powerful force there is, especially when one person offers it to others in their absolute darkest hour. Start singing when you're up to your neck in mud.
And that brings us to the final lesson, Lesson 10, the absolute bottom line. And it's symbolized by that object hanging in the middle of the training compound.
The brass bell. Simple, shiny, always visible. A constant reminder that there's an easy way out.
3 rings, and it's over.
3 rings, and all the pain stops. The cold, the exhaustion, the harassment, gone. You can walk away. It's the path of least resistance, always beckoning.
But the warning from the instructors wasn't just about failing the course, was it? It was deeper than that.
Much deeper. They drilled it into them. If you quit, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Quitting never makes anything easier. McRaven really emphasizes this life will always give you reasons to quit. The odds look bad, the struggle feels endless. But giving up, Ringing that bell. It just opens the door to regret and limits everything you might do next.
The book ends with an incredibly powerful example of this refusal to quit. The story of Army Ranger Adam Bates.
Yeah, Adam Bates, 19 years old.
Hmm.
On his very first mission in Afghanistan, steps on a pressure plate IED.
Instantly loses both legs.
Instantly. Catastrophic injury. McRaven goes to visit him in the hospital soon after. Bates is, heavily medicated, tubes everywhere, can't speak.
Just devastating. But what Bates did next, it's unbelievable.
It really is. When he's gently woken up, he signals for McRaven to wait. And then, using sign language, which he knew because his mother was deaf, he slowly, deliberately spells out a message. Takes immense effort because of his condition.
And the message was?
I will be okay. Just sheer, unbelievable fortitude. Refusing to be defined by the injury. Refusing to surrender.
And the follow-up shows he meant it.
Absolutely. About a year later, McRaven sees Bates again at some event. And Bates is standing tall on prosthetic legs, laughing, joking with his buddies. And not just that, he's competing in a pull-up contest against able-bodied soldiers.
Incredible.
It's the ultimate proof. If you give in to self-pity, if you quit on your dreams, life will be hard and limited. But if you refuse to quit, if you decide you'll be okay despite everything, then life becomes what you make it. Never ever ring that bell. Hashtag take 2 for Dart. Closing thought.
Wow. Okay, so laying out all 10 lessons like that, you really see how they build on each other, don't you? It's like a complete system for resilience.
It really is cohesive. Start super internal and personal. Just make your bed, control that one small thing. Then it expands outward. You need a team, you need to face failure, deal with unfairness, take risks, show courage, give hope to others.
And it all culminates in that absolute refusal to quit. It's a roadmap.
A roadmap for personal strength, absolutely. But it connects directly back to McRaven's big challenge, that change the world idea. If you internalize these lessons, if you live them, you become that starting point for the ripple effect.
Right, that potential impact on 800 million lives.
Yeah.
Suddenly doesn't seem so abstract. It starts with individual choices, individual discipline.
It shifts self-improvement from being just about you to being about your potential impact on everyone else. Your discipline matters beyond your own life.
So for that final thought, that little nudge for everyone listening, let's go back to lesson 6, daring greatly, sliding down that rope head first.
Yeah, the obstacle course analogy. We all have those ropes in our lives, right? The places where we're playing it safe, inching along because we're afraid of falling, afraid of failing.
So the challenge is, what's your head first slide? What calculated risk are you avoiding right now that might be holding you back from your own personal best?
Don't let that fear keep you stuck in the slow lane. Think about what you could achieve if you dared greatly.
That's today's breakdown. While this discussion cannot replace the book's full text, it can offer a glimpse into its teachings. I hope you found this discussion helpful, and I look forward to sharing more. Let me know what book next you want to discuss.